Judge Aquilina, when you had the 150 gymnasts all allowed to use their voice before sentencing, it was so powerful. I think it struck people outside of the moment. Like, you knew that it wasn't going to stop there, and people would forget about sex abuse or child abuse in sports. You knew that this was going to go on. But something, Dr. Saltzman, that you mentioned, I wanted to touch on, and that was the languages used for definition of misconduct has allowed some of the abusers to get away with it and not lose their jobs, for instance. In Sally Yates' report on the NWSL here in Chicago, Rory Dames, the coach, did have an investigation 20 years ago at the high school level when he was coaching youth. And yet, after 150 interviews that the police department did in Arlington Heights, they decided that it didn't fall under the definition of any kind of misconduct. And therefore, he was allowed to move on. And I think it's so important that, how do we change the verbiage that is being used so that there aren't these loopholes to allow them to move on?
Right. I think that's a great question. And I think one of the issues is, right, again, this is why the videos are divided into sneaky spiders and obvious spiders, because obvious spiders we can point to. Honestly, as a society, we don't do a great job with that either. We should never allow a coach or a theater director or a boss to do anything that we wouldn't allow a school teacher to do in a classroom. So we wouldn't allow school teachers to yell at students or throw things or pull someone by their shirt. And all of those are obvious forms of abuse. The harder part is the subtle abuse of the sneaky spider, which is really demanding obedience and compliance and kind of eroding the person's sense of self, sense of value, sense of agency. And if that starts at a young age, then even when someone's an adult and a professional athlete, as in the NWSL, they've lost something along the way. And then it's harder for them to have their voice. So part of the sneaky spider is to help us understand what are those subtle behaviors, and to understand those subtle behaviors are actually abuse.